All right. Next year is election year, and normally in the history of New Zealand, actually not since 1972-75, that usually means that we begrudgingly in many cases, but do give whatever government, first term governments there, the chance or the benefit of the doubt and give them another 3 years in which to, well, finish the job or finish us off. I've never quite worked out which of those two it is. There have been very few one-term governments in New Zealand. In my lifetime, one, and that was 1972-75. And in the middle of that, the Prime Minister of the time, Norman Kirk, died. And he died in 1974. And he was widely regarded as a relatively charismatic, quite a good communicator actually, but far more communicative than you would think his train driver background would have done. He came from Waimate, very lowly origins, but he became the leader of the Labour Party, lost a couple of elections, eventually won it, became known as Big Norman. Everything was going fine until he died of a heart condition, reburied now, I think, in Waimate. And that was it. That's in my lifetime. That's the only one-term government we've had, or one Labour, one-term, yeah, government, Labour or National. But there might be the suggestion that next year that might be about to be replicated with nobody dying, I might add. And so the electoral boundaries become quite important. Now, there's quite a bit been happening in the last month that will have, one would expect, a considerable impact upon the election next year. Not just the policies of the government, but also the internal politics of other parties as well, and the relationships between them. And obviously we'll be talking to Ella Henry after 11 o'clock on what's been happening with Te Pāti Māori and what that future particularly looks like from a Māori perspective as well. But that has also meant that the electoral boundaries have been redrawn as a result of, as they are periodically, and I think also for the first time in my life, the South Island has gained a seat, or it certainly hasn't lost one, and Wellington in that particular region has lost a seat, and as the populations moved out, or as the population of the South Islands increased, my understanding, I think, is the population of the South Island, our next guest to be able to tell us, sets the number of electorate seats in the North Island, and that has led to Wellington losing a seat, and that seat is the seat of our next guest, who has been a very, very popular local member of Parliament, former chair or former president of the New Zealand Police Association, the Labour MP for Oharu. I understand he's the second most popular, according to a poll just recently, political figure in Wellington, Greg O'Connor, and he joins us now. Greg, welcome to the show. Lovely to have you on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Morning, Michael. Good to see
Greg,
you.
you have been the Member of Parliament for Oharu for how long, mate?
Well, 8 years. My end of my third term will be the end of next year, or whenever the election is next year.
Okay, and you were recruited for the Labour Party straight out of, I think, the Police Association. That's right, isn't it?
Largely, there was a bit of a gap in the middle. I hadn't when I left the police association. I didn't have any plans, and as a result of leaving the police association, this came up. Would be a fair enough way to describe it.
Now, both National and Labour are broad church parties. They have to be the dominant parties. Would you put yourself on the more conservative wing of the Labour Party, Greg?
Largely issue by issue. Right and left are sort of labels that we try to put on people, but I would like to think that I'm issue by issue.
Mm, but you,
And
but you obviously appeal across the political spectrum, so you couldn't have been the MP for Oharu, which has been also a National Party seat, without appealing to voters, well, like me and urban liberals.
well, no, it wasn't a National Party seat. It was actually Peter Dunn's seat.
That's right, it was too.
And
Before him,
he,
though, he
he'd
managed to.
started
Yeah, that's right.
life,
Yep, yep,
he'd started life as a Labor MP,
yep.
morphed into a essentially by the end, he was a guaranteed vote for National, which
That's
was
right.
why I was recruited to assist in removing him from there, which we successfully did.
So that was
He,
2017 then.
he did retire just a matter of weeks before the election after a poll that probably wasn't that favourable towards him.
Yeah. No, well, I think he always prided himself with going whatever the government of the day was, wasn't he? He was literally the swinging member of parliament.
Hmm.
Hmm. Okay. 2017 to now, the seat's gone. It's been essentially pushed. Listen, it's extraordinary, really, before we get to the particular predicament you find yourself in. But it's extraordinary, isn't it, that Wellington's lost a seat and that therefore it's losing population. Where are they going?
Well, just to correct your description of the electoral system, don't forget it's gone the size of seats, as you rightly pointed out. 16 in the South Island, they divide the South Island population by 16. That determines the size of all the seats from then on.
Yeah.
Gone from 62,000 to 69,000 minimum. And with that, so the actual size of seats has increased by that amount. So that meant Wellington Rongotai had to move into the city had to move north, and rather than everything just moving north, they plucked Oharu out of the middle so that other north seats moved south. So when a politician says that they've lost their seat, normally it means that some other bugger's come and stolen it from them. In my case, the seat, we need some probably a better word to describe it. The seat disappeared, as I say, in a puff of smoke over Mount Kaukau, which is in the middle of the electorate. So so it went. So that meant that everything moved north or south.
Did you anticipate that?
Yeah, as soon as I saw the formula that was going to be applied, it was quite clear that even if Ohari had survived, it would look very different. It would have had to move far north into Pororua anyway, or into the Hutt Valley, one way or the other. So it was always, once you saw the formula, you could see the writing was on the wall. One seat it did mean the North Island was left with one seat too many. It was going to be probably Epsom or Hardiu. Ironically, the two real MMP seats. I had rather hoped it would be Epsom for obvious
Yeah.
reasons, but
Yeah.
it would be a Hardy. But as I say,
Okay.
even if a Hardy live, it would have looked quite different anyway.
So you end up with a new seat called the Wellington North Electorate, and that now my
Well,
understanding is that is that correct?
two seats actually,
Sorry,
because Wellington North, two new seats,
two new
Wellington
seats.
North and Peru, because the old Mana seat, which is essentially Pororua, has moved south. So that becomes Kenaparu, whereas that used to go right under Paraparaumu, and north. Now that only goes as far north as Pororua Harbour. So and there's another new seat to come south, the Kapiti seat. Used to be the old Otaki seat. That's come right down now into Whitby and Parramatta and those northern suburbs of Pororua. So
So
everyone's
there,
moving.
okay, but now there is a new seat called North Wellington or Wellington North,
Which
and
is
that's
made
why
up.
I'm talking. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
And where's is that leaning Labour? Is it?
well, probably. It's the remnants of Wellington City, or the old Wellington Central, and the
Yeah.
remnants of or Hardiu come together to form that new seat. So Wellington City loses Brooklyn and Mount Cook, which are two inner city suburbs, and move north as far as Kadala now. So,
Right.
and is it left there? Yeah, it's yes, it's Wellington City's held by the Greens, Wellington Central. I hold Oharu, so and with National having sacked half of Wellington, you'd probably have to say that it's going to be a reasonably left-leaning seat.
Okay. So you and Aisha Verrill, who is the party's I think she is the party's health spokesman, isn't she?
That's
Um,
right, yes.
contest the new seat of Wellington North, which has been created out of the remnants, as you've just said. And Isha Verrell wins the Labour Party selection for the new Wellington North seat. I'm
Among others, there
assuming,
were six nominees.
right, I'm assuming that the Labour Party selection still works the way that I always used to work, or if I got it wrong, which is half of the members who live there vote, and then the other half come from central office. Is that right, or has it changed?
No, pretty much that. Yeah, that's the formula.
Right.
It's a mixture of both.
So it's the locals. Do you still have a floor vote? So we appeal to the candidates on the floor?
Yes, that's another vote that is the deciding vote. Um,
And and
with-
in this
uh,
case,
uh,
I guess you'd be aware of what. So that would be what, a number, 6 or 7 votes altogether, would it, Greg?
7 votes. Yeah.
7 votes. Right. So 3 from head office, 3 local, and then you've got the floor vote, making 7.
Hmm.
So did you win or lose? Sorry, did you lose narrowly, or was there a clear balance that Aisha Verrell was going to be the better candidate?
No, nobody knows that. Only the people involved, and it's something that people do respect. One person is announced, and no one else knows who came where when, which is a good way to do it. Clean and yeah, it means I think it's actually quite a good way to do it. Actually, it's because otherwise you get all the sort of ramifications. If you go, look at what happens in the states with their primaries. All the angst and that carries on then because there's so much sort of politics around the selection process in the first place that inevitably carries on over then into the main competition. And this is a good system that really stops that from happening. Nice and
I
clean.
remember when those votes were known, and they used to be head office versus the locals, and boy, they used to cause some rifts in candidate selections. But obviously, they've decided not a good idea to give that information out now. Fair enough. Um,
No,
okay,
I think
yeah,
good process actually for that, and so do all your battles behind the scenes, and that way you can be a united voice when you come out the other end. Very hard to be that if everybody's not that people in the media would ever make mischief of any
of course
divisions,
not.
but they'd never.
No.
It'd be well beyond people like yourself, Michael, to ever cast aspersions on that.
Yeah, yeah,
You're just,
yeah. No,
I,
no, we
I
wouldn't
think
want that.
good,
No, no, no,
good
that'd be
clean.
dreadful.
You
Yeah.
know that.
All right, mate. So that
Sorry,
now leaves you
Mike.
that now leaves you stateless, which I think I might be in the same position as you, except you'll still have a job going into next year. What are you going to do?
I'm going on a South Island road trip with my special needs boy over Christmas and going to look and go and do some visiting and see some people and make up my mind. Look, I've never been one to have a plan B. Plan B is just getting way of your plan A. My plan, and then we've got to get a new plan now. But the old detective in me makes sure you've got as many facts on the table as you can. And I need to start accumulating a few more facts around options. I haven't been on the list before. I've eschewed the list. That's always an option. So these are just make the decision based on the facts and the options as you have at the time.
You and I share some characteristics, is that we might be regarded as pale, male, and stale, and that's not a particularly fashionable place to be at the moment, particularly in certain quarters. Does this decision and the idea that you might go on the list when I'm sure they'll look to be inclusive, as even the National Party would be, is it possibly the end of your political career, Greg?
Look, that's in my hands um, largely. It's not the end of my working life.
No.
Um, as you will know, politics isn't an end game. It's a um, something that you do. You learn a lot. Doesn't matter what you think you knew. I was in a reasonably politically adjacent job before I came in there, being the president of the police association. But and I thought I was in and out of Parliament, but I was only in and out. I had really, it took me 5 years, to be honest, to really learn the intricacies of the place. Uh, and I think, like any job worth doing, if you can step in it and do it straight away, there's this belief in Parliament that, because I've been a good whatever, good cop, good farmer, good accountant, good lawyer, then automatically that is going to translate to become a good politician. No, you start again. Um, all it does, I liken it to, no one's good enough to be an All Black, you're good enough to be selected to be an All Black. So it's how you adapt and learn. And I know a heck of a lot more about the world of politics than I did when I came in. And seeing it from different eyes, even get to sit in the speaker's chair a lot. And that's another way of you see the world through a different set of eyes there as well, relatively bipartisan, which is unusual in
So,
Parliament.
well, I mean, to go on the list though, I was just talking to David Farr yesterday about exactly that issue. Because National did extraordinarily well in the electorate seats, as you know. In fact, you were one of the holdouts, really, in comparison at the last election. Now, you did that well, Greg, I would argue, because you are widely regarded as being a highly functional and popular local member of parliament, rather than necessarily a Labour or a National Party person. But nonetheless, National won 43%, oh sorry, 43 of the electorate seats at the last election. Currently, you've got 17 of your, I think it's 17 Labour Party are on the list, and 17 have got electorates. Um, there aren't an awful lot of marginal electorates, though, when I look at them, as you probably are aware. Sort of seats that are held by National of under 2,000, for example. And so if they do their job, there's a very good chance that those electorate MPs could still retain their electorate role, but like yourself, despite what happens at a party level. So I'm just looking at that, and I'm sure you've looked at it as well. Does the list is maybe not as appealing? Are there other seats that you could contest on behalf of Labor at this coming election?
Not really. I mean, it's most of the decisions are made, and look, you never say never to anything, but um, until Sunday, you plan A is what you have, and plan A was to contest the selection for Wellington North under a very good democratic process. It didn't come off, so now I look at my options. And look, all those cliches are the same. Door opens, door closes, windows open. All those. There's many different ways of saying it, but it's true.
Mm,
And I've always been a great believer in you work hard, you don't try hard, and that way you opportunities pop up that you probably wouldn't see if you were trying too hard.
understood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's quite. It can be quite exciting, actually. You're right. Now, I've got another gig in me. I'm certainly not ready to hang anything up yet, and I don't know what that gig might be.
Can
But
I ask
I
whether
would.
standing as an independent is an option for you, Greg?
No. And in fact, were you ever an independent at any of your
No,
stages when you were in
no.
Parliament?
Although I've
You
always
ended up
thought there is a role for an independent MP under the new MMP system, but no, I never did.
only if you happen to have the balance of power. It's the only time you would
Yeah.
ever, because there's been
What,
a
you
lot of
might?
independents there, and you end up have a look at Parliament where the independents end up stuck literally right up in the top corner where you can't be seen or heard. You need a cut lunch and a compass to get to your seat every day, and you get no support. You get an office somewhere stuck um, in Siberia, they call it, where no man, woman, or dog ever visits, and it's a very lonely place to be.
Yeah, except
And
I go back to your predecessor. Go back to your predecessor, Peter Dunn, who was essentially an independent, never out of cabinet. You know, as a
well,
consequence of that.
that's well, he had to balance the power each time, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That was
Well,
live.
gosh, this next election is going to be so close, Greg. You might well argue that an independent Greg O'Connor would be the balance of power.
No, no, that's not something that I would contemplate. As I say, I've seen what happens, and Peter Dunn was probably an exception. And don't forget that he had parties too. He didn't start live as an independent. He ended up there, which is quite different. And he wasn't really. He don't forget at one stage. I think he had about 8 MPs, didn't he? 8 or 10 MPs,
Yeah.
and
One
that's quite.
2002, I think. Yeah.
He survived. Don't forget, he didn't start out there. No, you'd be. I hear people say come in and they think they're going to come in and make a difference, but you, one of the problems we have with our council systems around the country is that people are critical of the party system, but actually, what happens when you get 12 individuals or 15 individuals all doing their own thing? That's why you end up with problems on your councils because nobody agrees and there's no party discipline. No system is all good or all bad, and there's some things. Party system's got a lot of flaws in it, but there's a lot of positives in it too. So no way. You've been in there, Michael. You've looked up. I don't know if anyone was an independent when you were there, but up in that corner, top left-hand corner, as you look out from the chair, man,
Too lonely.
no,
Yep.
no place, man nor beast, I tell you.
All right. The very best of luck to you. We look forward to talking to you again in the new year when you have made up your mind, Greg. And I wish you a long and extended and relaxing Christmas break.
Oh, thank you, Michael. And I'll be. Are you still living down? Where are you living these days?
We're living in central Otago, Cromwell, heart of the universe at the
Oh,
moment, I have to say. Everybody wants to live here.
well, who knows? I might even be driving through there at some stage. Yeah, it's a
Well, I
beautiful
look
part of
forward
the
to talking
world.
to you then, Greg, and having a beer.
Oh, cheers, Michael.
Good on you. See you later, mate. Greg O'Connor, the former Labour MP, well, he's still the Labour MP for Ohario because the seat hasn't been disestablished yet, but there's your basis. I think he's answered the questions. No, he's not going to stand as an independent. No, he doesn't know what he's going to do. Yes, he's got to make up his mind. Who knows? It is.